Hey guys, it's ayebeepee and welcome back to my channel. I have my bachelor's in criminal justice and a minor in psychology, and I'm going to say that for the next 83 videos because I'm just so proud of myself. And I'm also a board member of a nonprofit called Voices for the Silenced. We help with missing person cases and helping loved ones get some resources such as a social media presence, whether that's helping with searches, and just in general being that middleman between them and the police sometimes. If you have a missing loved one that you need help with, please get a hold of us and we will do whatever we can. And today we are here with the third season of Unsolved in West Virginia, and we are talking about Sister Roberta Elam today. Roberta Elam was born on August 23rd, and she was 26 years old at the time of all of this. She was known as Sister Robin. She was the oldest of 4 siblings. She was known as happy and friendly and outgoing. She loved to laugh, and she was known to be a very strong Christian woman. She really lived by the word of God through and through. But she was kind of known as a little bit of a rebel and was very opinionated. But she was a true leader and a great athlete. She loved to play basketball. She loved writing poetry, and she also was very passionate about social justice issues. She was born in Allendale, New Jersey, but she did grow up in Minnesota. She was just the absolute normal student. She was in more of the normal friend groups. She dated a little bit, but it wasn't her main focus. And she was just a normal teenager. She went to Marillac College for her undergrad, but she did go to Fordham University for her master's in theology. And what brought Sister Robin to West Virginia is she was actually a teacher for the Diocese of Charleston Wheeling, and she was traveling around the state teaching adult study classes that focused on religion. And this really made her wonder what it would be like to dedicate her whole life to Christianity. In August 1976, she ended up joining the Sisters of St. Joseph in Wheeling, West Virginia. She quickly moved into the Mother House because that's when she really was able to start her journey to becoming a nun. Her brother has said that her end goal was to be a priest, but in the 1970s, being a woman and a priest was not really a thing. But he told us that Sister Robin thought this was stupid. Why couldn't she be a priest? She was just as holy and just as religious and had studied it all the way into her master's. Why couldn't she be a priest? And as you can tell, she wasn't like most nuns. Actually, she was very rebellious for a nun. And her journey through all this, she met with Peggy Perry frequently. That was her spiritual mentor, so her and Peggy really talked about the true and deep reasons why Sister Robin wanted to be a nun. She truly sought her advice on her decision making. Now, Sister Robin had went to visit a friend where she point blank asked her, "What would you do if I just walked away from all of this?" And her friend was like, "Just do whatever you want to do. Just whatever makes you happy, do it." And it's just clear she was at a crossroads. And on June 12th, 1977, she saw that friend again and really wanted to tell her something, but she said that her friend would think she was crazy, and her friend tried to push her to tell her anyways, but she ended up never telling her. But it was clear something was bothering her. And she had just started this 8-day silent retreat, which helps you really be in your mind and work through meditation and prayer to figure out if this life as a nun is truly what you want. And on June 13th, 1977, she started her day in silent prayer and meditation. She also was seen jogging, but around 10:30, she she had went into the kitchen at the mother house and grabbed an apple. And she had walked into a field about 75 yards. There's a bench that sits at Ayebeepee Park that overlooks the golf course. So she used that to read her prayer book. This was a popular spot for nuns to do their reflection. And according to the police, sometime during her reflection, it is thought that someone snuck up behind her and pulled her over the bench, which in turn knocked the bench over backwards. Whoever it was drug her about 30 to 40 feet away from the golf course, which was completely out of sight of it. And whoever did this to her, unfortunately, raped her and strangled her to death. Sister Robin's body was found around 1:50 in the afternoon by a groundskeeper. She was laying on her back and she wasn't in her nun outfit. She was in regular street clothes, but they were completely disheveled. Her jeans and underwear were around her ankles, her blouse was ripped open, and her bra was pulled up closer to her neck. So with this, her whole torso was pretty much nude. And they ended up finding her prayer book in her bag near the bench. The autopsy proved that she was in fact sexually assaulted and that she was on her period at the time. But the police decided to keep this little portion of her being on her period kind of secret. They needed something that when a killer came forward and knew that detail, it had to have been them. There was bruising around her neck, but what was interesting is that it was proven that it was kind of in the shape of hands, but the thumbs were more on the front of her throat, which means the killer must have been in front of her strangling her instead of pulling her over the bench backwards and killing her from behind. She also had bruising on her legs and she had no defensive wounds, which means she was probably knocked out before any of this happened. During the initial investigation, the police did question all the nuns that lived in the mother house. Several of them told them about being in the kitchen when she took the apple and ended up walking up the hill. They did say they had heard voices, like loud voices, but evidently that was fairly normal with the golf course being so close, so they didn't really think much of it. The police do believe that the crime must have happened between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on June 13th, 1977. They also believe that this person probably did know her, and the family pretty much believes this too, based on there being no defense wounds. The police also believe it had to have been someone who knew the area, because they knew to pull them back from the view of the golfers. They tried to track down every golfer that was on the course that day, and they all claimed they didn't hear anything or notice anything. The police used bloodhounds to try to find anything at the crime scene, but unfortunately, not much was found at all. And she would have met so many people through her job traveling the state teaching her adult religious classes. Unfortunately, this could have been anyone that she met. And her family even said she met hundreds and thousands of people through this. There was a car and a man that multiple witnesses said they saw in the area during this time. So they started looking for the driver. He was a white man, but like a darker complexion. He had dark shaggy hair that covered his ears, and he had a beard that looked like it had been growing out for about 4 days. He had dark eyes and about a medium build, but he had broad shoulders. He was thought to be between 30 and 33, about 5'10" to 6 foot, and 160 pounds. And he didn't really look like he cared about hygiene very much, but they remember him wearing jeans and possibly a jean jacket. And some witnesses on different days they saw him there said he had a dog that kind of looked like a poodle with him. And another thing they were looking into was obviously the car. It was a 1960s Chevy Impala that was either like a gray or a light blue. It had some rust on it and had some dents on the driver's side door. It had chipped paint, and some witnesses could have sworn it had West Virginia plates. It had 3 bumper stickers on it, one being something to do with coal mining, one that had the word Jesus somewhere on it, and a third with praying hands. There was also several religious pamphlets in the back window that you could see. And multiple witnesses had said they had seen it parked at Oglebay Park the day that Sister Robin was killed. Brooke County Special Investigator Richard Balgamore did make a composite sketch of this man, and it was released on August 31st, 1977. One witness said they saw this man between 10:30 and 11:30 on the street the day of. They said he was driving on Pogue Run Road, and they saw him get out of his car and walk across the embankment that would have led up to where Sister Robin was. And this car had technically been seen at this spot way back in October 1976. So this could have easily been a man that was like watching Sister Robin for a while. But no one was ever charged because they could never find even who this man was that people were talking about. They did try to link her to a few murders that were happening in Washington County, Pennsylvania, because it was fairly close by. All the murders happened within like 25-mile radius of each other. But Sister Robin was strangled manually by someone's hands, where the rest of these girls were strangled with an article of their clothing. And so they didn't really think it officially matched, among other reasons. 2 weeks after the murder, the West Virginia Crime Investigation Bureau sent 4 agents to Wheeling to look into this case. And on July 12, 1977, the police really started asking for the public's help in this case because there was just so little evidence to even go off of. Henry Edgar Beck was thought to be one of the suspects in this, but due to jail records, it was proven he was in fact locked up at the time, and there was no way he could have done this. So then they looked into some salvage workers that they knew were in the area. There were about 4 of them that were from Atlanta, and they were there to remove cables from telephone poles. They had been there for several months at this point, I think. But one of the workers and Sister Robin did end up getting into it a little bit because they weren't the nicest to the nuns. They used kind of nasty language and just called them names and stuff like that. So of course, her being very opinionated said something to him. But unfortunately for them, this happened 3 days before her death, so they were investigated but completely cleared. Now let's talk about this man named John Shoplack. He is from Wheeling and he has quite the criminal record. He was accused of 2 women before this, and just trigger warning on this one because he was also convicted for robbing his grandmother. Yeah, you heard me right. Robbing his grandmother. He ended up cutting her finger off to get her ring, and he wrapped a telephone pole around her throat to keep her quiet while he was doing it. John's ex-girlfriend had came forward to the police saying that he had in fact told her that he raped and killed this nun. Said he snuck up behind her and strangled her with his belt, which we know is not true. She was strangled to death by handprints on her throat. But this is where it gets interesting, because he said she must have been a virgin or on the rag because there was blood. And so the police went, the one detail they had kept from everybody, he somehow knew. His ex said that he had in fact choked her once and said she had broken up with him about a month before the murder, and that he was known not to like Catholic people. But military records did prove that his blood type was not the same type that was somewhere on Sister Robin. He ended up dying in August 2019, and I will say that the Ohio County Sheriff's Department has tried to get this hospital to release some of his DNA because he had went to the hospital before he died to be able to cross-reference it with Roberta's case again. In the early 2000s, the Ohio County Sheriff did send evidence to the crime scene lab, and they were able to extract DNA from the killer, which is what they were trying to get DNA of John Shoplack for. The DNA results were sent to so many crime labs to see if they had matches. It was in the hundreds of places this DNA was sent. And they even got it into things like the database of CODIS. There was a mass resurrection for Sister Robin, and it was on June 15th, 1977. And it was at the Mount St. Joseph Chapel. There were over 100 people that came to celebrate Sister Robin's life. And she was buried with fellow Sisters of St. Joseph in the Mount Calvary Cemetery. And it unfortunately took years for her parents to feel comfortable to even talk about Robin. They were devastated because she seemed like just such a good person. So why did this happen to her? And I know this is an old case. Maybe talk to your parents and see if they remember anything. Anybody that you know from the Wheeling area, ask if they know anything about this case. And if you do find something out, or if you know something yourself, please get a hold of the state police at 304-746-2100. Or you can even get a hold of the Wheeling Police Department at 304-234-3664. And that is all I have for Sister Roberta Elam. Thank you guys so much for watching. This one was a breath of fresh air because I feel like the police did literally everything they could. There was just no evidence to really go off of, but I really feel like they did everything they could and obviously are still trying. So hats off to you, the police in Wheeling, because evidently you know how to work a case. Please teach some of these other departments in West Virginia, please. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for me, and hit that notification button. That way you're notified the next time I upload. There is still a GoFundMe going for Crystal Young. If you have not watched her video, please go watch it and figure out why her mom needs this PI so bad. And also, I have stickers still for sale. I have some new ones that I'll put on the screen. They are $2 each, and all proceeds go to the Cold Case Foundation, so it is for a good cause. And thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!